Good morning, ladies and gents. Welcome to Living with Us. I'm your host, Sharon Mundia, and today we are at Parking by Radisson. Now, today's show, we get to understand what it takes to be a TV maven, to be someone who's in front of your screens. And we follow three women who have been doing this for years now. One is a news anchor, and two have been both on stage and on TV screens, whether it's in films or commercials. They get really candid, really funny, and I think it's an interesting discussion that you're going to love. Now, the three ladies are really busy, so we had to catch them on different days. We start off with Olive Burrows and then later catch up with Scully Cheruto and Lydia Gitasha. Take a look. All right, Miss Olive Burrows, how are you today?
I'm feeling good.
I'm loving your Vivo outfit.
Yeah,
We were just talking before the show.
Dress up
Yeah,
a little bit.
we were talking before the show, and I have the same, well, a top that's similar. I love it. So I want to hear a little bit more about your journey. If you don't know, actually, Olive and I have been working together, or at least in the same companies for the last. How long were you at Capital?
I was at Capital for 6 years.
Oh, I was at Capital
Yeah.
for 4 years, and now
Yeah.
at NTV.
About a year?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we shifted at about the same time.
Yes.
So,
yes.
but we've never sat down, and I've never had a chance to ask you questions and
haven't.
to get to know
And
you.
I'll be honest, this is a bit weird. I'm used
Why?
to sitting where you're sitting, asking the questions.
Right, Miss TV host, news anchor. I'm sure we've seen her on our screens. So tell me a little bit about your childhood, and was there any kind of performance involved in being in front of people? Were you that kind of child?
Not really. I had the worst case of acne.
Okay.
So I was, I was trying to blend into the wall behind me, not attract too much attention.
Right.
But at night, I'd sit up and watch CNN, and with a hairbrush, pretend that I was on KTN. KTN then was the channel to be on, in Kenya. So I've always wanted to be a news anchor, but in terms of performing like plays and stuff like that, no.
Interesting.
And I cannot sing to save my life.
But you have in the past on TV.
I
on live
have
TV.
terribly though. Yeah.
Whoa, you just as you painted that picture of like holding a brush and like talking, I just realized I think I did the same.
You did the
'cause
same
it just
thing?
looked
Oh
really
my
cool to
gosh.
be in front of. So how did you then make peace with your journey and sort of get involved in being a journalist and wanting to ask questions and even moving forward from being behind the screens to
being on screen.
Yeah, on screen.
Okay, so I was always a curious child, always wanting to know the why. I even have a tattoo of a G clef because the first question I think I remember asking my music teacher was, why is it called a G clef? Why is it not an A clef or a B clef? Like, why that?
Yeah.
Why that?
Right.
Why that letter of the alphabet?
Right.
So I've always been curious. So naturally, I moved towards journalism. Okay. I think it was a choice between law and journalism, and then. But where law is concerned, I was like, I don't want to do all that cramming, and I'm creative, so I needed a creative outlet. So it was an easy fit. In terms of being behind the camera at Capital, you said I was at Capital.
Yeah.
So when I left Capital, I was an associate editor. So it's radio, and I wasn't on-air talent, except on occasions where perhaps somebody was a no-show.
Right.
Then somebody had to step in.
Yeah.
I was the nerd. I was a nerd behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Making sure that being a grammar Nazi,
Right.
making sure the story has flow to it.
Yeah.
Being out in the fields, but I've always enjoyed storytelling. Like I remember even being in high school. Like when we come back from the school holidays, I was at Kenya High, by the way. So of course the first night we were all gathered after we come back from the holidays, and everybody has stories.
Right.
So I loved holding that center court, say I watched this movie and I did this and I did this, and people would listen. So I think I always had this natural ability when it came to storytelling. I remember being in Form 1 and my English teacher read out one of my compositions. So writing for me, telling stories came naturally. As for the transition to at some point I'd given up on being on-air talent, and I was content, with being behind the scenes, because there's a time Beatrice Marshall was to take on students from Daystar. See how I've dropped in all my
Go ahead, yeah.
But yeah, so I was in Daystar, she came, they were recruiting, they wanted to start a media lab, sort of like Nations.
Okay.
So she recruited me, somehow it didn't work out, and I tarmacked for the longest time. So I had sort of given up on it, so I fell back to writing as a freelancer, instead of staying twiddling your thumbs,
Right.
So I started out as actually freelance writing for True Love, I've written for Drum, The Nation paper, stand-up, but mainly light pieces, entertainment.
Right.
That was what was most accessible to me at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
So Capital was actually the first time I got into electronic media, which is what I studied, and then now got to do more hard news type of things,
Right.
type of stories,
Yeah.
and it was a natural fit for me. So in terms of now going on air, it was an opportunity for growth.
Right.
Because I remember the girl who was standing in front of the mirror, and I was like, I want to prove to myself that at least I can do it, and then now from there figure out if I want to do it, or if
Yeah.
I'm just to prove something to myself, to prove that I can do it and I'm good enough.
So all along, was this your dream, to be in front of the camera? That's because and first of all, what I even love about your story is that you didn't just sit and be like, nope, if it's not in front of the camera, I'm not doing it. And I love that you went into like, I'm going to freelance write, I'm going to get into electronic media.
Yeah.
But all along, was that still your vision for yourself?
It was, I think at some point I sort of gave up on it.
Okay.
And then in 2018, I was like, New Year's resolutions. I was like, okay, let's give it another shot. And I said, so I'm a Capital.
2017.
It was 20. Yes, 20. No,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
It was 2018.
When did we join
It was
this? It is 2018.
Yeah,
sorry.
it was 2018.
Don't listen to me. Go on, girl. That's why you're the storyteller.
it was
the news-
2018.
Yeah, you're
So-
right. Wait, was it just last year?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh God, I thought I'd been doing this show for 2 years. It
It
really
feels
just
like
is.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So 2018.
So yeah,
you-
2018, I'm at Capital, and I'm like, how can I grow myself? And I'm like, I want to get into TV, mainly just to prove something to myself
So-
that I can do it.
So it was in your intention, like
yes,
your,
I was
guess,
intentional
goals.
about
Okay,
it.
Okay.
So we used to have this. So I introduced this concept of like a minute bite of news.
Okay.
Like letting the audience know. Okay, so this is the big news that we expect to come out of the day. So previously I had produced other people, and I always felt like, when you're watching somebody else do it and you're like, okay, I can do that. Why can't I do that? So this was now my chance. I grabbed the opportunity, started the minute bites of news, and so NTV saw the videos, and they're looking for new talent.
Wow.
Yeah, so they call me, ask me, when can you start? Okay, what? No, but what really surprised me was I didn't even do a screen test. Like, I think based on what they've seen, they're like, okay, she can do it.
Yeah.
And then brought me in. I went through training. Yeah, but it's natural. For me, it comes naturally. Yeah.
And you know what I love too? Again, you just take initiative. You didn't wait for someone to just come knocking on your door. You were like, I'm going to create this, put it out there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, isn't that how it works? The more you put yourself out there, then the more you're throwing that net open as wide as possible for
Yeah.
people for something to land, for you to
Yeah.
land something. So tell me about the big break. Well, I don't know if I should call it a big break, but the really big interview that you got to have that I'm sure so many journalists were like, how did she
Y'all will not let me forget about.
How did she land that one? And you owned it and you did so well, but I don't want to spoil it. So can you tell me about that?
So how did we get it?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
How was it for you? Like how was
What
that?
was the experience
Yeah,
like?
what was
Okay,
it like?
okay.
And was did you feel in that moment that this was yours? That there was no doubt that I'm meant to be in this room, in this space with this man.
All right, so first of all, I refused to believe that it was actually gonna happen. Like, I didn't want to get my hopes up too high,
Okay.
and then get disappointed, because it was the very last thing on his itinerary, and I kept imagining, worst case scenario. I'm like, oh my God, maybe the event that was scheduled to take place before the interview will run long, and then he'll be rushing off to Air Force One,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't get a chance to interview him. So I actually believed it was happening. I didn't even tell my mom. Yeah.
Do you want to say who
Okay.
it is you're interviewing yet now?
No,
Do you wanna
Barack
tell-
Obama.
Mr. President Barack Obama.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so initially they told us, don't hype it yet.
Yeah.
Security concerns.
Yeah.
And then, so I think it was the day before he arrived in Kenya that we're allowed to push it on air.
Okay.
Either the day before the interview or the day before he was scheduled to arrive in the country. I need to confirm that. So I didn't actually believe it was happening until he walked in the door. And then he walked in and then he goes, "Hi, Olive." And I'm like, oh my God, Barack Obama knows my name.
I'm just getting so excited. You'd think I'm being proposed to, right? I'm smiling like it's my victory.
I know,
Wow.
I lost my train of thought. If you watch the interview, you'll see that I was taken aback, like, oh my God, that's what popped into my head. And obviously he was briefed on who was going
Yeah,
to do
of
the interview,
course,
but
yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, it's like when you
He's
wear the name
invested,
tags,
yeah.
and then you forget you're wearing the name tags, and then somebody goes, "Oh, hi, Sharon," and you're like, "I don't even know my
Yeah.
name." Yeah, But still, it was, I think, the
Wow.
highlight of the interview, him just knowing who I
Yeah.
was. So he walked into the room, and then
Did you feel like you were meant to? Did you feel worthy of that space? Did you
Yes,
feel like
I
you owned it?
But I think that part of the credit goes to him because he's a very, if you watch his
Charming,
interviews, he's
yeah.
very open.
Yeah.
Even his interaction with people, he's very open. Although I put him on guard with my first question
Okay.
because I asked him the birther question,
Okay.
which was, Trump saying he's a Kenyan, he's not an
Right.
American citizen.
Yeah.
And I think that put him on a bit on edge. So
Right.
that was a lesson I learned. And then the entire time my neck was so stiff, I couldn't move my neck. So I'm trying to listen to him as he's responding to my first question. And I'm like, why is my neck so stiff?
So your body was just not agreeing with you. It's
It
not
was
working with
yeah.
you.
But
Wow.
eventually, he helps you relax.
Yeah.
And a question I get asked a lot is, how did he smell? Do you
Oh,
know,
how
I
did
forgot
he
to ask for a
smell?
picture. Like, the entire team had told me, don't forget to ask for a picture. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you interview Barack Obama and not ask for a
Right.
picture? Yeah, so I forgot. I think I was so nervous. So he goes like, at the end of the interview, he's like, so would you like a picture? I'm like, oh, yeah. But and I was afraid to stand next to him because I was afraid the Secret Service will take me down if I so much as
Like
wrap
hold
my-
him.
Yes. Wrap my-
That'll
my
be
arm-
the end of
Yeah.
your arm.
So I was trying to get one of my colleagues, the male colleagues, to be
Yeah.
on either side of him, and then I wanted to be on the end at the end.
Wow.
So he's like, I don't know. He talked about the dynamics of the picture that needs to be some.
Wow.
Yeah. So he held me actually. So Chris Kirubi, who was my boss at the time,
Yeah.
asked me whether I've ever washed my lower back. Yes. I had to.
Oh my
I had to wash-
gosh,
But then I
this is-
washed the dress though.
Oh really? Did you really? How you really?
I've never worn it after. It's still hanging in my closet. Yeah, but also I think I didn't sniff him out.
Okay.
Because I was so anxious about not touching him. I was
Oh,
so sure the Secret
gosh.
Service will take me
Yeah.
down. But
Oh, bless
yeah.
you for still being so thoughtful and professional in that moment. And also, I would run that as like, so he asked for a picture with me, and I was like, whatever,
All right,
okay,
you know.
I'll just come in. Do you want me close to you? Oh, God, he's so demanding. Like, I would just be running off like, oh, okay, knows my name, wants a picture.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about fame. And, now you being in front of the camera, there being a little bit more interest about who is Olive really? How do you manage and juggle, being able to be yourself and put yourself out there, but create maybe healthy boundaries if that's even a concern for you, and also deal with negative comments if you get any of those? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely get plenty of those. I remember when I was on attachment, when I was still in Daystar, I was at KBC and I was hosting the Sundowner show, and somebody sent in a text message and they're like, when is Kate and Donya coming back? Who is this chick on there? Yo, I went home and cried. My mom was like, you need to toughen up.
Yeah.
You need to toughen up. So for TV, I think it was day 3, you imagine that, because people imagine anchoring the news is just about sitting there and it's just reading what is on the auto cue,
Right.
what is written for you. It's not. I found it was much harder
Yeah.
because you're trying to make it conversational, you're trying to put across a point. So and also you're trying to deal with your nerves. And my very first night on air, I was shaking so hard. I think my lips were shaking. I was fine up until they go like, 3, 2, 1. You're on air, and then all of a sudden my hands were shaking. The
Yeah.
people I was holding my hands, they were shaking. My lips
Yeah.
were shaking. I'm like, why are my lips shake? I didn't know your lips could shake.
Wow.
They should.
Could you see that did you watch it back and could you see your lips shaking?
People
or was
say
it in
they
your...
could see it.
Oh.
I felt it. I didn't see it when I watched it.
Okay.
though.
Okay.
And then I'm a fast speaker.
Okay.
So you can imagine when I'm anxious, the speed just triples.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like a freight train coming at you.
So did that lead to a lot of like
It was deserved criticism, which is good because you have to make that distinction between criticism that's meant to grow you and just put you down.
Constructive, yeah.
Yeah. So what was the fame thing? It wasn't really first of all, I love that people love the chemistry between Dennis and myself because sometimes people can spit you out metaphorically. And it was the thing was it was never forced. It was we just gel. We're good friends. So I really appreciate that. And then people were rooting for us. I loved that. So there was a lot of support. I didn't have to deal with a lot of criticism per se. That was just aimed at putting me down. So it was interesting to see blog posts written about you. I'd never experienced that, but they're all in good faith. That I loved, in good faith, in good fun, never anything scathing, which not everybody experiences that sort of reception.
Right.
What I had difficulty with was having people tell you what you can wear, whether or not you can whether or not you should wear false lashes.
Right.
Because I'm the sort of person who hates to iron, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So I wake up in the morning and then I just rummage through what does and rummage through my wardrobe and find what doesn't need, what can stretch.
Right.
See where I love the stress. Just
Yeah.
stretches out. I was never too concerned. I've never been a person who's too concerned with my appearance. And now you have people talking about the color of your hair, the length of your hair. Like I said, whether or not you should wear false lashes,
Right.
what color of lipstick works for you. And for me, that I found that a bit invasive. I get it. TV is optics. So that for me was something I really had to come to terms with.
And how did you do that? Are you okay now with receiving comments on that, or how do you handle it?
Looking back, I'd say some of it was deserved.
Okay.
Because like I'd watched the news now and I was thinking, what am I doing wearing velvet? Crushed velvet on air
Right.
during the news.
Yeah.
It must have been crazy. Okay, I think I was a bit resistant to it at the beginning, but you tend to figure out who's in your corner and who's
Balance.
not. And so you kind of find your voice, find your look and your space. Yeah. So I'd say, but yeah, it takes time to do that.
To find that and to own it, I guess.
Yeah.
Oof, and you're right, because ultimately what we're doing by putting ourselves out there is sort of saying, hey, this is who we are, and whether we want it or not, inviting commentary on how we sound, what we're saying, how we look, and you have to sort of make peace with that and find which bits work and
Yeah.
which bits to let go of. So last question before we go on break. I want to know from you, what was the most surprising thing about TV for you?
Surprising.
Yeah. As something that you wished and wanted for yourself for so long, and you were, as a child, sort of speaking into a brush. What is the one thing that you were like, this is the thing, I didn't see this coming. I didn't expect this about TV.
I think sometimes you just need to pinch yourself and just because you remember, like, it was this big dream you thought was unattainable and you never thought you'd get there. And sometimes you just need to pinch yourself and remind yourself that, we made it, I'm here. But then again, I just didn't imagine that it would feel so comfortable.
Oh.
It does, I'll be honest with you. But it took
Wow,
a better
yeah,
part of a year to get there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's involved a lot of figuring myself out as well.
Yeah.
And I won't say it's made me stronger, better, sharpened me, hardened me like iron, but it hasn't changed me. And that's the thing I really rubbed me the wrong way, because people were like, oh my God, now, you're a celeb, so you don't have time for us. And I hate that. I'm the same person. Maybe you've changed how you look at me, but I haven't necessarily changed. So that just,
got to you.
It did.
But there are people who change,
guess
like, so
there
1 minute,
are.
you sort of know them, and the next you're like, what? Why are they, what? That's not the same person. Because fame and that kind of interest in your life and that kind of sycophantic approach, I love you, you're amazing, big
mess with
ego,
your head.
big
I know,
head,
I know,
and you start
I
to
know.
think.
But I think
you're obviously quite
I was
grounded.
so focused on just improving. I'm still working on it. I think
Yeah.
like if I'm being generous, maybe
Yeah.
at 70%, I'm not yet fully there. I'm still learning from the people
Yeah.
I work with. People like Mark Masai, Rich Vidyarthi. You watch them and then
Right.
you go, damn, I want to sound like that.
Yeah.
They're so conversational, authoritative. So I think I've been so focused on improving myself.
Right.
I've not had a chance to grow a big head.
Right.
And I go home every single day after a broadcast and I watch and I rewatch.
Do you?
Yes, I do. And like that facial expression. But I do. I go home and I watch and I figure out, okay, I need to, like, somebody will tell you something right after the show and then you might not take it very well. But then
Yeah.
when you go and you review
Right.
what you did, you're like, okay, yeah.
I see
they had a point,
I
they
see
had a
what they
point.
mean.
But and sometimes the thing, like especially my family, I kept telling them, okay, sometimes I pull 14-hour days.
Yeah.
So when I do get the one day off, I just want to sleep in a
Yeah.
little bit. It's not that I'm avoiding you or now that she's on TV,
Yeah.
she's not accessible.
Right, because that's another thing. People assume that you just come in, do the quick 30-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute lunch, whatever it is, and then walk out, and that's the end of the day. But it
No, it's
is a
not.
long shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
And I learned that as well. So.
Yeah, and that's a big
so
one.
I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Olive, thank you. This
Thank
was
you for
so
having me.
nice.
It was fun.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
I get to, I know a little bit more of your story, which is, I think, very inspiring. Thank you.